And welcome back to Illini Drive, last show of the year, of the semester. It's still me. I'm still here. I've been here all 4 days. I'm sure you're all sick of me by now. But I'm here, and Brian and Tati are here. Eli and Isaac are in Minneapolis to watch Illinois volleyball, which starts in a couple hours. We've talked at length about that. That's very exciting, with a chance to go to the championship for them. But we're going to talk about a little bit of Illinois basketball. They play Eastern Tennessee State University on Saturday, and it's a game that I'm not really sure how I feel because Eastern Tennessee State has been playing well, the teams that they've played, but the teams that they have played haven't been that great. Yeah. So, but also we know Illinois plays down to their competition sometimes, so it's a little iffy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this Eastern Tennessee State game, I mean, yes, it does look like one of those games on the schedule, but I do think this Eastern Tennessee State team is a little bit better than the Mississippi Valley State team that they saw, that Illinois fans saw in the State Farm Center. But at the end of the day, this is still a team that Illinois should probably beat pretty easily, and this should probably be another game where Illinois should use this game to kind of get their players back, some of their players back into rhythm. You saw that with Middle Tennessee State. They're able to kind of get Samba out there. They're able to get Kipper Nichols back into a little bit of a rhythm. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of Ayo Dosunmu with a lot of scoring against this team, because I think Underwood's probably going to want to get him going heading into Big Ten play and heading into that Mizzou game. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot more Trent trying to get him reacclimated after that bruised tailbone. So, yeah, this should be another win. Just the question is who's doing the most contributing during the win.
Yeah, that's been something that we haven't been really too sure about on a game-to-game basis, who's going to be that number one guy. Early in the beginning of the season, especially in Maui, it was Trent. And then when they got back from Maui, it was really nobody, and they went on a little bit of a losing skid there. There was a little bit of chaos, I guess, for lack of a better word. Now we're starting to see Kipper step it up a little bit. Ayo's starting to become a little more consistent. So, yeah, it'd be nice to get everyone contributing in this game, everyone chip in 8 or 9 points here or there, especially your regular guys. Maybe Ayo or Trent go for 15, but I think this is a nice tune-up game before Mizzou, before you face a team that you step back up in the competition. I think Mizzou's a little better than UNLV. I definitely think they're better than Eastern Tennessee. Yeah. So you need this game to kind of finally get yourselves right, and then you have a week before Mizzou.
Yeah, and these and again, but it's important that we talked about this, that Eastern Tennessee State's no rollover, and these are games that Illinois has kind of struggled with recently. These games on campus when there's no students, it's been kind of a tough go. I know they lost to Winthrop a couple of years ago, back when the students were on Christmas break. So that was under John Gross. This is a different time, but these games where there's just like weird atmospheres in the stadium, it's just sometimes hard to predict what could happen. They come out shooting really well, and it could just end up being a bad matchup. But again, I don't think that should be a problem. I think this Illinois team should be prepared. They should have the talent advantage. And again, I think it's just important that we see some of the guys that haven't been seeing the ball go through the basket recently have that happen for them, because we're going to need some of those guys later on.
Yeah, just some background for Eastern Tennessee State. They're 8-3 currently, with their 3 losses coming to Georgia State, Creighton, and Wofford. They're scoring 80 points per game and only allowing 65. But again, that's to teams in kind of a middling conference, not really Power 5 teams. But, I mean, that's a 15-point difference between what they're scoring and what they're allowing to opponents. I still think Illinois wins just because Eastern Tennessee has to come here. It's Big Ten play. It's a little different. And I think their tallest guy is like 6'9" or 6'10", which obviously matches up well for Illinois because Georgie's 6'10". If Samba plays, you have a 7-footer out there. What do you expect from your boy Samba in this game? You think you're going to see 16 minutes again?
I would hope so. I mean, this should be a game where he should. If I'm Brad Underwood, I'm looking at this game and I'm saying that Samba should be getting 20 or so minutes, because this is a team that you're probably not going to need to sweat down the stretch, and you're not going to need to really close things out. This could be another game where Illinois is up 25 halfway through the second half, and if that is the case, then down the stretch I want to see a lot of Samba. I want to see a lot of Tevian Jones. If this is the game that he comes back, this should be a huge game for Tevian Jones. If this is the end of his what we thought was going to be a 3-game suspension, even though it was never truly announced how long it was going to be. Right. This would be a huge game for him to come back and really kind of reinsert himself into this team and show this coaching staff, like, hey, that whatever happened. I'm back in, I'm bought in, I'm ready to go. Because, again, I'm one of the bigger believers in Tevian Jones, and I think that he's a guy they're going to need in the Big Ten season if they're going to have the kind of season that that fans kind of want, where they're kind of competing in the Big Ten, even if it doesn't mean they're getting too many wins.
Yeah, talking about Tevian Jones specifically, I mean, he's someone who got a little bit of run in the beginning of the season. It was usually only 6 or 7 minutes, 8 minutes. He was hardly ever cracking double digits in the minutes column, but he was still getting a little bit of run. He was still showing some flash. He's a freak athlete. He could shoot a little bit. He's just one of those guys that you would like to have. I mean, is a suspension like, obviously you never want someone who you maybe count on for minutes here and there even to get suspended, but is that something that maybe refocuses him, kind of brings him back down to earth and gets him recommitted to, I guess, just basketball in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no stronger message other than like kicking someone off the team than suspending them. I mean, I don't think there's, unless you're just going to straight bench him, but I don't think you can do that for a player of Tevian's talent level and just what he can do for your team. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he did come out playing a little bit better. I mean, he's had some time off to kind of relax. He's been watching a lot of these games Illinois played. He's been watching from the bench. He's been hearing what the coaches have been saying, and there's a lot to be said about kind of being able to take in the game from the bench and kind of being able to take in the game without like not having to worry about going in there and what you're going to do when you go in there, and just kind of being able to observe the rhythm of the game. And I think that's something that's really valuable, especially for a guy like him who's only played 3, 4, 5 college games in his career.
Right.
So I think this should be a good opportunity for him to just kind of press the reset button, just kind of get back into a groove, and really hopefully get himself into a rhythm against East Tennessee State.
Is Adonis De La Rosa someone you would want to see get run if you're up by like 20 or so? Like if you're up big and it's a blowout and you're clearly going to win that game and you're halfway through the second half, 10 minutes left, 12 minutes left. Is that someone? Because I feel like, I've been to the games at the State Farm Center too. I've been watching this team too when they're on the road. I feel like he's someone where it's been conditioning lately. It still looks like he's a little slow and he's not really up to full speed. But I feel like a game like that, if you're up big, you might as well give him the game reps,
it's basically
right?
just free conditioning,
right?
Yeah. But I have no doubt in my mind that I think Adonis will play, unlike he did against UNLV, because, like Underwood said, it's not that he's lost any confidence in Adonis, even though Illinois fans may hope he did. It's just more about matchups, and I think against a team like this, where your talent level is a lot higher, maybe Underwood just thinking about throwing him in there and getting him a little more game reps, like you said. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Adonis. I'd be really disappointed if he had more minutes than Samba and Georgie, or either of them. Yeah, I mean, he is what he is at this point. He's a big body. He's 5 fouls. He can occasionally get rebounds when they bounce to him because he's tall. But other than that, he's not really giving you a lot. But again, this could be a game where you get him a little more in shape, you get him a little more in rhythm, and we see where it goes from there.
So is Adonis De La Rosa someone you're not really considering a contributor for this team going forward?
I do need to see a little more from Samba before I make that kind of statement, because I do think if that game against UNLV for Samba was a flash in the pan that he can't recapture, then I do think they are going to need Adonis for a good amount of minutes. But in the perfect world, I think no, he shouldn't be a contributor for this team, because I do think that Georgie and Adonis and Samba bring everything that he does and a little bit more, and on top of the fact that they're able to run up and down the court at a good speed. So yeah, I mean, I think he could be a contributor, but he hasn't shown me anything so far this season that means that he will be, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 10 minutes from him, but I don't think he should be playing more than Samba or Georgie.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I think Adonis was someone who I didn't think we'd even see until like now, until this point, and we saw him a lot earlier, which I guess says a lot about where he was physically and the recovery with the knee and stuff. I still personally think that once he's conditioned and up to speed, that he can be a contributor. I like what I saw from Samba against UNLV. I still think he's very raw, but I think if you can get Adonis playing, like he was someone who was a really good player at Kent State, and where was he? He was at Kent State the whole time.
He was at Kent State, yeah.
So he was a really big contributor there. He was on a tournament team there. And he's like a 7'2", I think.
He's a large human being.
He's enormous. I mean, I think he was listed at 7'2", 260 or 265.
He's a Big Ten size body,
right?
For sure.
So that's someone you need, because Samba's tall, but he doesn't have the girth. Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't have the mass. So I mean, I think Adonis, once you're done with this break, once you get into conference play, hopefully he's up to speed. But as of right now, I mean, I'm kind of the way you were with Samba. Like, I need to see more from him, show that he can run for extended minutes, show that he can move as quick as we know he can. Because when he was at Kent State, he can move pretty fast. I mean, he was an athlete, and now it looks like he's just lumbering. So I'd like to see him be a little quicker. But let's do predictions for this game. I gave mine yesterday, but I'll just go again to reiterate. I think Illinois wins this 80-68. I think Eastern Tennessee, once they come in here, they kind of get a shock with Big Ten play, with a true, with these Big Ten athletes. Io, a bigger guard, Georgie and Samba, like real big men who can move around the hoop and shoot a little bit. And then obviously the Trent factor. If he gets going, I don't think Eastern Tennessee stops him. So 80-68 is my prediction. Illinois wins by 12.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game because, like you said, East Tennessee State is averaging 80 points per game, and I think that's even against bad competition. That does say that they have guys who can put the ball in the basket, and Illinois struggled with not stopping people from putting the ball in the basket, even at times against Mississippi Valley State. So I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think Illinois does win this one comfortably. I'm going to say final score 88 Illinois to 75 for East Tennessee.
Tati, do you want to give a prediction? You don't have to.
I don't know anything about Eastern Tennessee, so
just throw out a random number.
The same 80-something to 70-something. Go Illini.
Well, there we go.
So anywhere from single digits to double digits, folks. That is a hot, boiling hot take. Let's talk a little bit about what happens after this game. You have Mizzou, then Florida Atlantic, and then you go into the thick of conference play with Indiana to start on January 2nd. From where we were after Maui, and we were kind of feeling, all right, you just play these really good teams, like top competition, Xavier, Iowa State, Gonzaga, like all these teams that are tournament teams. Gonzaga is the number one team in the country now. And we were kind of like, all right, that's fine. And then you take a couple tough losses. Obviously, who was
Notre Dame at the
yes,
buzzer.
Notre Dame was a tough one. And so you look at some of those losses, and we were like, all right, well, these guys aren't really playing as well as we thought when they came back. Where are we at as far as confidence level with this team as opposed to after Maui?
Well, I'm going to start with, I think for Brad Underwood, I think coming out of this stretch, 6-7 should be a huge victory for him. Like, he should be telling these guys, like, hey, it doesn't matter how we got here. We're 6-7, and if you look at the teams we played.
Could be.
Yeah, well, yes, if they do make it there, if they do win out from here on out. But you look at the schedule they play and say, look, we're 6-7 at this point. Right. Yes, we maybe don't have some of the wins that we'd wanted, but at the end of the day, we do still have a pretty, yes, 6-7 is a losing record, and it's probably not going to get you in the tournament if you have a substandard Big Ten season. Mm-hmm. But it's like you look at the teams they play and the schedule they played, they could easily have gone 4 and however many.
4 and 9, 3 and 10.
And ending up 6-7, I mean, there's room to work with that from there. So if I'm Brad Underwood, I would say that's definitely a win for him, considering how young this team is, what everything they've done, the teams they've played so far. For me personally, I mean, my thoughts have been pretty clear on this whole situation. I've always been kind of in the camp that I don't really care how much they win, because I think at this point it's not about winning. It's about developing these players. It's about developing this culture, developing the identity of Illinois basketball. And I think they have done a good job so far of sticking to their identity and continuing to do the things they need to do to make sure that when they do have this kind of top-level talent that they kind of have right now with guys like Io. I think Trent was kind of a diamond in the rough type guy. I think Georgie could eventually be a upper echelon Big Ten player. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, yeah, I think that the process continues, and that's all I can say about my confidence for this team, because
trust the process.
That's all that matters, is that the process towards Illinois being an elite Big Ten program again is continuing, and it's still on track. And no matter what the win-loss column says, the games I'm watching tell me that the progress is still going.
Yeah, when we were at the game against UNLV and Samba came in and scored, you turned to me and you go, future's back on. We had the future paused for a little bit, but future is resumed.
Yep.
And I mean, you're right. I think no matter what happens this season, it's you just look at the development of the guys and how they're progressing, and then you go from there. I still think this is a team that can make the NIT. I still think this is a team that has the talent to do that, and maybe has the talent, if everything goes right, ideally, everything works in the way that we expect it to, could sneak into the NCAA tournament. Obviously, that's a big jump, and like I said, that's if every single thing goes right. Io starts scoring a lot. Trent does his thing. Georgie gets a little bit more refined. Kipper stops falling. On and on and on.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think this is an NIT team, and I think at the end of it all, we're going to say, all right, Georgie started here. We weren't sure what we were going to get from him, and now he's a starter, solid contributor.
At this point,
Game
barring
one.
injury, he's probably going to start every single game this
Right.
season, which is incredible considering where he was at the start of the year.
Right. Samba went from a guy who couldn't even
Get on the
scratch
court.
the floor, couldn't even sniff the court, now is playing 10, 12 minutes a game off the bench. Io,
Evian Jones, wherever
right.
he goes. Io, wherever he goes.
Alan Griffin even.
Alan
We
Griffin.
didn't think he'd be a 10-minute, 12-minute contributor. He's already doing that.
Andres Feliz, another newcomer. Yes, not
Yeah.
a freshman, but a guy who's going to be around next year.
I keep forgetting Andres Feliz is a junior and that
Yeah.
you're going to have him next year, which is huge because that veteran
You're basically
leadership.
bringing every single contributor on this team back. Outside of Adonis, you're literally, and Aaron Jordan, unfortunately, that's going to be interesting to see how they replace him with that shooting. But, other than that, you're literally bringing back basically everyone from this team. And you kind of talked about how this team could find their way into the NCAA tournament. And I actually do agree with that because I do think that the Big Ten being as good as it is right now is a blessing and a curse because obviously it's tough because you're playing great teams every
Right.
night. You're probably going to be playing a top
Michigan
25
State.
team more than you're not, which is insane to think about in a conference. But at the same time, that gives you a lot of chances to build your resume literally just through Big Ten play. I don't think anyone expects Illinois, including me, to win more than 5 games, be 5 games over 500 in the Big Ten or anything like that. But if they were, like you said, if Trent gets going, goes through a back half of the season hot stretch, if Kipper's able to stay on the court and stay playing the way he has been, if Io starts being a little more aggressive offensively, they get consistent big man play without fouling. I can see this team. I've seen this team do things that suggest to me that they could make some noise in the Big Ten. They force a lot of turnovers. When they're shooting the ball well, they're pretty potent offensively. They've got guys who can drive to the basket in Io and Trent. So they've got the tools. It's just the problem is, number one, they haven't shown it through over the course of even 40 minutes so far, let alone multiple games. And the fact that they're also playing teams that are really good and also really bad matchups for them.
Yeah, just for reference about how good the Big Ten is, 5 teams from the Big Ten inside the top 25, 2 of them inside the top 10, 3 inside the top 15. It's just unbelievable. And then Indiana's just outside. So we almost have 6 Big Ten teams inside the top 25. Michigan and Michigan State obviously being the top tier of that. But you're right. The Big Ten's going to be tough. If they can even be a little bit over 500, I think that says a lot about them. But we'll take our first break. When we come back, we're going to do what we did on yesterday's show, top 5 moments of the past 4 months of the semester, and then 5 moments that we are looking forward to in the new year, new semester. We'll talk about that right after our break. And we are back. Illini Drive, last show of the year, of the semester. I'm here. I'm Jake Hassan, and Brian and Tati are here. And we are going to do our top 5 moments of this past few months, and then the top 5 moments we are looking forward to next year. I'll just run through mine quick because I'm assuming people listen to this show on the same days, whatever. So they probably already heard mine. But mine was of the past few months of the semester. Game 3 of the World Series, the 18-inning marathon when Nathan Eovaldi pitched from innings 12 to 18 was amazing. Next, volleyball being in the Final Four. Their run this year has been awesome. The first 3 quarters against Penn State for Illinois football was great. And then obviously the fourth quarter we don't have to talk about. 4, Antoine January. I think that was kind of brushed under the rug a little bit because it was something that happened over the Thanksgiving break. And we didn't get to talk about it as much.
The night of a game.
Right. So it was something that we didn't get to talk about as much. And then 5, how well the Bears have been doing, and that game against the Rams. It made me really happy. So we'll start with those, and then we'll do the top 5 going forward. Brian, do you have any prepared?
I do. I have 3 ready, and then I'll do 2 off the dome piece.
Okay.
Number 5, MJ Rivers starts a game for Illinois football. This is a guy I'm all in on, so seeing him just get out there and get a start was big. I think he should. I'm really excited about what he's going to be able to do next year. I think that we could look back on, maybe not that start, but this year is kind of the year where we realize that MJ Rivers really could be the future of this program at the quarterback spot. Number 4, and I can't remember if this happened early last semester or at the beginning of this semester, but Lovey going with the beard, I think that was awesome. That's
I think it's been like a year-long thing.
Yeah.
Has it been?
Yeah.
All right, well, that one doesn't
I'm
count.
pretty sure it was a
so
thing last
I
year.
have 2 prepared and 3 off the dome.
You could say that he stuck with the beard.
The commitment
he kept,
to
he
the
kept
beard.
the beard
To it.
through the tough times. The struggle beard is here, and eventually we will. And eventually we will make it out.
The struggle beard. What are we gonna call it when it's not the struggle beard anymore?
Was he gonna? That's the question. Does he keep it when we're good? Because then it wouldn't be a
Ooh.
struggle beard. It would be like the struggle beard.
A trust the process beard.
Yeah, process beard. And so beware the process beard. So my third one is obviously volleyball, but in specific, watching them beat Penn State at home was really fun in 5 sets to basically clinch the top 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. And then my other one, my fourth one, I'm gonna go with the Seahawks. This latest winning streak they're on is really making me happy. Russell Wilson's playing really well. The defense is playing well, and they're really outperforming what a lot of people thought they were going to do at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And then my number 5 spot is going to be LeBron going to the Lakers. It's just I just love the NBA so much. Just the amount of power swing you see in that league is unparalleled in any other professional sports. Literally the best player switching conferences, switching basically ends of the country to play on, and just completely shifting the power dynamic of the league, creating so much drama, so much fun stuff. And just creating a fun team to watch in the Lakers, and it's setting up for a really fun Western Conference playoffs, and I'm really excited.
Before we go to Tatis, I just want to say, going from Cleveland, Ohio to Los Angeles, California, has to be wild, right? I mean,
It's quite the move, for sure. Going from Cleveland to Miami, I mean, LeBron's made a history of making these big moves.
that's
so,
true. That's a good point. That's
I
interesting.
mean, I wouldn't blame anyone from going from Cleveland to Miami and or L.A. L.A. is kind of gross, though. Miami's kind of gross, too, but whatever.
All right, on that note, Tati, your top 5 of the past semester / year.
Okay, let me preface this with I'm a big Southern football person.
It's true.
So
Big SEC gal.
love the SEC. If I should have gone to school there. Anyway,
Cut that.
Love to hear that on a line I
Producer,
drive.
cut that.
Jared's the new Tuesday, Thursday producer.
the LSU Texas A&M game, 3 of my moments come from that. That was such a great game. Had I been there, I would have been kicked out of the press box for cheering. That would hands down would have been kicked out of the press box. The first one in the third overtime when LSU was up 49-41, and it didn't look like A&M was ever. I think it was like a 50-plus yard pass to A&M's Kendrick Rogers, and it was like a one-handed catch behind him, like grabbed with his fingertips and brought it down, and they still needed a 2-point conversion, and they got it, and it was amazing. So then they obviously went to the fourth, and then in the fifth, it was LSU that was down, and what happened? It was a long run down the field, and that was fantastic. And then the seventh, the coolest one, was the 2-point conversion that shouldn't have happened. Like, there was absolutely no reason. He was down, but alas. And that, I think, just the whole thing. So there's 3. 4 would be, I guess, Illini volleyball. They have been fantastic and electrifying. I haven't gone to games because I'm a terrible person, but I have caught up with them and read about them. And that has been exciting to follow. So I'm rooting for them. Go Illini volleyball. And
That game starts in an hour and a half.
Hoot
Against
hoot.
Nebraska.
I'll be at home. I guess my final one would also be the first 3 quarters of the Penn State game. It was fun to watch because it was like the Illini are finally going in a direct. They obviously didn't go in the direction.
They reversed course quickly.
They turned around, but that was electrifying to watch. And like an honorary mention, though not positive, very interesting was the historic loss to Iowa, because historic events.
Yeah, historic events in the best way. Love that. No, good list, Tati. I mean, the Penn State game, just a note on that. I mean, when we were at that game, I just remember me, you, Eli, and Gavin just like
shocked.
We were just like, okay, this is not going to last. Like, there's no way this lasts. It was like first quarter, it was still relatively close. We're like, there's no way. It's just not going to happen. Second quarter, okay, like it's kind of, they're still kind of doing stuff. Third quarter, they're still keeping it close on it. And then the fourth quarter, we're like, that's what we were expecting the entire time.
They had the audacity to get me excited. I was so upset. It's like, we might do a thing. What? And then we didn't.
No,
we really didn't.
No, they really didn't. One of my top moments in the press box, though, with Tati, though, was when at the when the night of the LSU Alabama game, and I think that was the Illinois Minnesota game, I think, and we had just sat down, like it hadn't even been kickoff yet. It's still like an hour to game time, and Tati goes, all right, Illinois just needs to either wrap this up in either way, lose or win. They just need to wrap this up fast because the real game starts at 7. And it was just like, that's a good mentality to have. Good job, Tati.
I didn't tweet it out, so I think that's step one in the positive direction.
There were a lot of tweets that we had this year.
Oh, yeah.
It was a pleasure.
Honestly, the reason I still have followers, I don't get it. I also probably don't read those. Don't read the tweets.
Don't go back.
They're
Just
really
never
mean.
go on Twitter in general. That place is horrible.
That's true.
It's a dark hole.
That's a good point by Brian. All right, let's do our top 5 going forward as soon as I pull my notes back up. Okay, so going forward, I have bragging rights. That's obviously always a fun game that Illinois fans and the team looks forward to. Making it 6 in a row would be awesome. I think this one means a lot with Mark Smith obviously deciding to transfer to Mizzou, Jeremiah Tillman, that whole debacle is still happening. So I think that'll be fun. Trent Nio versus Mark Smith and whoever else Mizzou throws out there. Second, Bryce Harper's free agency. That is something that I've been looking forward to for the past year and a half, probably. Just because this is something that all of baseball has been waiting for, because he's a 26-year-old superstar in free agency, and that never happens. Illinois volleyball, I'm also looking forward to that, and that was one of my top moments, and it's something I'm looking forward to. Again, that game starts in like 90 minutes, and hopefully they beat Nebraska. Chris Thomas said today that we're coming for them, which is obviously awesome because Chris Thomas is very intense, and I love him. I can't wait for him to come talk to you guys next semester. Next, Bears playoffs. This team is just so much better than what I thought they would be. I thought they'd be right at 9 or 8 wins. They might get 12, which is amazing. And they're such a good team. My beautiful son Mitchell is playing so well,
Even with his bad shoulder.
Even with his bad shoulder,
What a tough little kid.
yeah. And actually, I just now realized that that's only 4. I forgot what I said for my 5th yesterday. So, Brian, your top 5 going forward.
Absolutely. Number 1 for me, I think bragging rights is a good pick. I'll kind of change it up a little bit. I'll go Big Ten play for basketball. I'm just super excited to see where this team goes going into next year. I think there's a really good opportunity for them to build positive momentum for this program, and I'm really excited to see what they do in Big Ten play, win, lose, or draw. My number 2 moment I'm looking forward to is volleyball tonight and moving forward. I'm really interested to see how this program reacts to the success they've had this year. Are they able to sustain it, or is it like a flash in the pan? What's going to happen with that? I'm excited to see what happens with that. Number 3, I'm going to go with Seahawks playoffs. I'm really excited to see Russ out there. I'm a little disappointed the Seahawks most likely not getting a home playoff game, but it's just fun seeing them out there in the playoffs. It was tough missing it last year, and I think it's really fun that they basically already clinched this year. So that's going to be fun. Number 4, I'm going to go with the Western Conference playoffs in the NBA. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath. There's literally like 8 teams that are all really good in there.
It's going to be the Warriors. What are you talking about?
I don't know, man.
Sir,
It's going to
I'm
be
not even
fun.
a huge NBA guy. And I know
last
that.
year they got taken to 7. So anyway, I'm really excited for that. I love the NBA, and then on top of that, after the Western Conference playoffs are over and after the finals are over, KD's free agency. I'm going to tack that onto point number 4. I'm really excited about that as well. I think that's going to be another really huge power shift and a lot of drama involved with that. A lot of really fun reports are probably going to be coming out about all the really dumb stuff that the players are doing in reaction to that. And then number 5, this is something I've been talking about for a long, long time on this show. The dates 10, 12, 19. That is the date Illinois plays Michigan next year at home. At that point, I am predicting they're going to be 5-0, and that game's going to be on College Game Day, and that's going to be the day that Illinois football finally comes back and beats Michigan. So that's my number 1 thing I'm looking forward to, 10, 12, 19. You heard it here last year first, so I've been on this for a while.
Sir. Sir.
I'm ready.
You
ready.
said this last year?
I did say this last year. About the time Isaiah Williams committed. Yeah.
Tati, can you confirm this?
This is when Alex was producing.
There you
So
go. I have no
that's
idea.
true.
Ask
What?
Isaac, man. I've been talking about this for a long time.
What? Who do they play in the 5 games going up to that?
Why do you know this
They
off the
play
top of your
They
head?
play 3 really bad teams in the non-conference, and then they play. I think they play like Minnesota on the road, and then Nebraska at home.
Hold on. This is just
See-
like I'm used to Brian's outrageous like sports takes because
Unbridled optimism.
we are
baby.
in a group chat, like all of us in journalism together, and he is constantly just throwing things out there. But
Brian comments are the best.
5-0 going into the Michigan game. Is that
At
is that
home.
in
And-
Champaign?
That's at home. So that's College Game Day is going to be here. Illinois is going to be ranked. Michigan's going to be ranked.
They're going to be not only
if
will
Illinois-
Sorry,
Illinois is, I will say right now, if Illinois is 5-0 to start a season, they will be ranked. Absolutely. There's no way.
I'm really excited for this
There's
hypothetical
no way
season.
a Big Ten team's going to start 5-0 and not be ranked. There's no way. Unless they
5-0
With 2
after
Big Ten
facing
wins, with 2 Big Ten
Akron,
wins.
Yukon, Eastern Michigan, Nebraska, and Minnesota.
How many road games are there in that stretch?
2
And
at
what-
Yukon and at Minnesota.
Both extremely winnable games. As we saw this year, where they beat Minnesota handily. UConn is one of the worst big Power 5 programs in the nation.
No, that's fine. But I think.
Nebraska at home, you sneak that one out, you're already undefeated.
Did you see what Nebraska did to Illinois this year?
Did you see how they hurt us?
Did you see what happened?
And next year,
Did
Illinois
we
is
watch
going
the
to be.
same game?
And next
Apparently
year,
not.
Illinois is bringing in one of the better players in the nation in Isaiah
one
Williams, and also
person. We have a team of tragedy.
I think you are correct in that right now the team is not good. However, I do think it's important not to underestimate how important it's going to be to have more playmakers on the field next year offensively. The problem with Illinois was that this year they weren't able to sustain drives. Next year, when they have guys who can actually catch the ball and make moves with the ball after they have caught it, outside of like Ricky Smalling and occasionally like Trinard Davis or Corbin or
Brian, the offense wasn't the problem this year. It's the defense not being able to stop anybody.
And
the offense is fine. I'm perfectly fine with the
I'm
offense.
cheering for the offense.
And see that, and I think that's one thing is that I do think that as this team does get older, that I think the defense will improve. I still believe that Lovey's a good coach. He's going to find a good defensive coordinator. He's already 1 for 1 in good coordinator hires, so I believe in that. And at the end of the day, I believe in the fact that Illinois plays a really easy schedule at the beginning of next year, and I believe in the fact that I think they can win at home, especially if they do have a good record. People will come and watch them and get excited. And if they go into that game undefeated against Michigan, Isaiah Williams is taking the first kickoff back, and Illinois football will officially be back.
Okay.
Hear me
So-
now. Hear me now. Believe me later on. If you know, you know.
A team of tragedy. That was amazing. First of all,
get by that.
that was a very accurate description of Illinois football. A team of tragedy. They should hang that above the entrance to Memorial Stadium.
Please credit
Okay,
me.
where is Isaiah Williams your starting quarterback next year? Or starting wide
He's
receiver?
not my starting quarterback. He might be Illinois' starting
He's not-
quarterback.
It's not mine personally.
My starting quarterback will always be MJ Rivers. If I'm Illinois, I look at what position are you worst at offensively, and it's by far wide receiver. And what's Isaiah Williams good at? He's good at running around with the ball in his hands, and he's good at catching the ball. Marquez Beeson might help out a little bit there. I'm a little mad Isaac isn't on the show to give me like 10 names of recruits they're going after right now, wide receiver, but I refuse to believe the receiving core can possibly be as bad as it was last year, especially if they do have Isaiah Williams out there. And I think I don't care what anyone says. I think MJ Rivers is already a starting level Big Ten quarterback, and I think that if you give him the right weapons, that this offense is going to be absolutely insane.
Wow, that just went in a direction I was completely not expecting.
Illinois football, baby. Next year's the year. 10, 12, 19. Get your
5-0 and ranked.
5-0 and ranked. College game day coming to Illinois.
Wow, I cannot wait to watch the video back of this because I just need.
This is what's gonna get me my
need
big
to
break,
see what
baby.
my face. I know. I just need to see what my face looked like during that entire thing. All right, Tati. Let's see if you cop that.
Not even kind of. He probably should have gone last.
I just wasn't. I didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah, I didn't know. I wasn't ready.
I was expecting a relatively smooth ride there.
Okay, so my top 5 looking forward to is, of course, the Illini volleyball. I do want to see them come home with a championship, and I don't know if it's possible. It's fully
It's definitely possible.
I think this has been an amazing journey to watch, and I do think that them going against Hambly will be something that pushes them even
That's something I
further
want so
to
bad.
just crush him. So
All I want is the post game quotes if they beat him. That's all I want.
Yeah.
I just want the post game quotes.
the scary man.
Eli better get good quotes if they win.
Isaac's there too, and Gavin.
Yeah.
They left us all behind.
Nah.
Friends of the show.
Next, I would say is probably I'm looking forward to Illini baseball in the spring. They were so electrifying to watch. I covered them last year, and they were just so interesting to watch, and they were so electrifying. And I do want to see them, continue on the upwards and continue to make a big splash in college baseball. I think, what's the coach's name?
Oh man,
It's slipping my mind. But their coach, he's great, and he's.
I should really know this. We should all.
We should all probably know this. But watching him mold and grow this team.
Hartlib, that's I knew that too.
I've wrote his name thousands of times.
I thought it, and I just didn't want to be wrong though. So
I've written many recaps with that
I've written
name.
a lot. But watching Hartlib and his team just go through, I think that's really fun and fascinating to watch. So I am interested in seeing how they go moving forward.
they do have a top 100 recruiting class this year.
They're golden.
Losing Spoine's going to be interesting. Spoyne
Yeah.
obviously had that monster year, got drafted by the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue. Sorry.
I had a good list, and Brian really threw me off. Let's see.
That's why you write it down, Tati.
But I like to, off the dome.
Is that going to be your new thing now that Brian said it?
Yes, it's my new fave. Bragging rights. Bragging rights is going to be a good game. That is one of my favorite things to watch every year. Do I want to see the Illini crush Mark Smith? Yes.
Yes.
Specifically Mark Smith?
Yes.
Yes. Fun fact, we graduated from the same high school. We're acquaintances. Yeah,
Acquaintances.
we're acquaintances.
Interesting.
So that's going to be fun to watch. What am I at, 4? 3? 4?
3, I think. But
If you got two more, go for it. If you only got one,
Let's
I don't know.
see.
It doesn't seem like you even have one right now.
I don't think I have one more. I do want to see Alabama lose in the championship. I'm really excited for that to come up. I root for it every year, and only sometimes do I get my victory.
Rarely.
Very rarely, but I do root for it. And, I think this is another year where it's probably not going to happen, but I'm going to root heavily for the loss and the demise of Alabama.
Dahan had the take yesterday that Oklahoma will beat Alabama.
he's absolutely insane. He's insane.
Has he been watching the same Oklahoma that's been playing all
Well,
season?
he made the case for if Jalen Hurts starts, that then Oklahoma will be able to get into a shootout with them and
You were
win.
insane.
Yeah, it's not going to no. I don't know how to say that. No, it's not going to
Yeah.
happen.
It doesn't
I
matter
don't
if
think so
even
either.
if they do get in a shootout, their defense is literally so bad. I don't care if they score literally every time. If they don't get one drive, they are going to lose.
No, that's what me and Tommy said. Don't worry.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's all I got is those 4 to 5. I don't know how many you listed.
All right, that's good. Good stuff. Brian took us on a little ride there, but that was wild. We'll take one more quick break, and when we come back for the last 10 minutes, Brian's Mariners did some more stuff, a couple more national news topics, but we'll hit those right after our quick break. All right, we are back. Last 10 minutes or so of Illini Drive for the year. And we are going to close out with one topic. We talked about the Mariners at length on Tuesday, and they did it again. Jerry DiPoto, from a hospital bed, made
You cannot stop this man. You cannot stop him from trading.
a three-team deal between the Cleveland Indians, Seattle Mariners, and Tampa Bay Rays that essentially, at its core, if you take away all the draft picks and cash, it is Carlos Santana going to the Indians. Seattle had originally acquired him from Philadelphia in the Gene Segura trade. First baseman Jake Bauers goes to the Indians as well. He comes from the Rays. He was a rookie last year. And then to the Rays, infielder Yandy Diaz. And to the Mariners, Edwin Encarnacion. Encarnacion was one of the most feared hitters in baseball from like 2012 to 2017.
And now Mariners legend.
He will never wear a Mariners uniform. I told you before the show started, there is a 0% chance Edwin Encarnacion
Hey, baby, once a Mariner, always a Mariner.
ever puts a Seattle jersey on,
I'll
much
get
like
into
Carlos Santana.
Edward Encarnacion. I'm sorry. I'll get a Mariners jersey and I'll send it to you.
They won't even. I doubt they'll even bother making it.
Probably not.
I doubt they'll even bother making it. Encarnacion is signed through. Oh, it's his last year of his deal. Well, with a team option for 2020, but he's in the last year of his deal. I thought he signed a longer deal with the Indians. Huh. Anyway, still, there's a 0% chance he ever plays a game for the Seattle Mariners. Jerry DiPoto will. If Jerry DiPoto can make a trade from a hospital bed, he can definitely
He'll
flip.
Find somewhere to find.
He'll flip Edwin Encarnacion in some way. But this is still just the Mariners dumping salary. They got a draft pick for Santana. We knew they were going to trade him. It's kind of like back to what you said on Tuesday. They're just still picking a direction. They're still just moving along, trying to get some assets for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and like I said, I'm just as down with the move on Tuesday. Well, I mean, obviously this move hadn't happened yet, but I'm just as down with the direction they're going on today that I was on Tuesday. And this is just another thing that they should be doing. They should be trading away all the good players that they can possibly get for draft picks, for money, for whatever they need to acquire good young talent and play that young talent next year. So whatever they get for Encarnacion, I hope it's good. I hope they at least get either prospects or draft picks or cash or all of the above. Because they need it. They need as many good young players as they can get, because recently they have not had any. All their good players have been coming from out of system, and I think that's probably one of the biggest. I mean, we talked about it a little bit on Tuesday, but that's one of the biggest reasons why they've never been able to find real success in the last 15, 20 years, is because they haven't been able to develop prospects, and they haven't had prospects to develop. So I think that this is smart. I think you can't keep banging your head against the wall of free agency. It's time to kind of press the reset button, and I think they're doing a good job of that. And I'm down with Jerry DiPoto just turning the league upside down with all these trades. Yeah,
it's definitely interesting, and I think you will get something for Encarnacion. He hasn't hit less than 30 homers in any season since 2011.
Someone's going to need that.
Somebody will take that power. He hasn't hit any less than 100. He hasn't hit any less than 107 RBIs in a season since 2014 when he hit 98. If you take away that 2014, he hasn't had less than 100 RBIs also since 2011. He's going to be only a DH, but that will still play for someone, whether that's the Yankees or the Astros or who be it. Someone will take that. I think you get a real asset for that. I mean, good for the Mariners. They're still just looking for the future, looking towards 2021 probably.
2021, baby.
I think that's probably their next window. For the Rays, I really like it. Yandy Diaz is a 26-year-old who he had a decent slash line last year for the Indians, but he was blocked by Francisco Lindor and Jose Ramirez, two guys who are super ultra stars in the league. But in 39 games, he slashed 312, 375, 422, and I think that plays. He's still relatively young, and he's cheap, and that's something the Rays will always covet. I love the Rays. I think this is a good move for them. I want them to win 95 games and get a wild card next year because they are so fun, and they just signed Charlie Morton to be an opener, and it's going to be so great. I love what the Rays do for baseball. It's so amazing. But yeah, that's baseball news. Bryce Harper is still not signed, unfortunately, but I still think it's going to be the White Sox, which would be unbelievable. Bryce Harper with Eloy Jimenez in the same outfield and then batting 2 and 3 in the same batting order would be electric. Something that I want to talk about in these last 6 minutes, though, Brian, still staying up your alley because I'm not a huge NBA guy, but I pay attention enough. And you brought up the Warriors earlier in KD's free agency. And I mean, KD's a top 3 player in the league?
Yeah.
So it feels like everyone's saying that he's going to leave this year after staying the last 3 years with the Warriors on like pretty much 1-year deals. And you said it looks like, I mean, they're kind of ready to let him go.
Yeah, I mean, there was obviously all the reports earlier this year about the problems in the locker room between him and Draymond. I obviously don't think Clay or Steph are the kind of guys that would either A, be out in the media, or B, even like say that kind of stuff. But I do think that even you saw towards the end of last year, and I don't know if this was just like NBA Twitter like reading too far into stuff, but it really did feel like last year the Warriors just didn't have the same kind of like jump and joy that they had when Curry was out and KD was the main leader. And I think you saw that again this year. They had that little stretch where even when KD was playing pretty well, they were still losing games that they probably, I mean, for the Warriors, are one of the greatest teams in modern sports history as far as talent goes and as far as what they've accomplished. I mean, these are games that you would assume they're going to win against like pretty bad teams. So, I mean, I think that in sports, just in general, whenever you have this many egos on one team, it's really hard to kind of manage them all for this long of a time. I think KD is one of the most interesting personalities in all of sports as far as just like the weird paradox he has about like being a tough guy, but also being extremely, extremely soft, like literally everything he does. So I don't know. I think that kind of guy, I can see how that would rub me the wrong way if I was playing with him. At the end of the day, he's an insanely good basketball player. I think he's the most unguardable person I've ever seen in my life when he's hot. And some team's going to take him because, dang it, he's still one of the best 3 players in the league. And I know the Lakers want him. I'm sure the Clippers would like him. The Knicks are in there too. And wherever he goes, that team's immediately going to become a contender for that in whatever conference that is. If he does go to the Clippers, that team becomes one of the best 4 teams in the West, in my opinion. If he goes to the Knicks, that team becomes one of the best 4 teams in the East. If he goes to the Lakers, obviously that I would say that makes them easily the best team in the league. So it's going to be super fun because I think at this point KD is gone. It's been pretty widely reported that he's looking or that he's not happy there and he's looking to move on. He's already got his rings and it's time for him to. I don't know if he wants to take over a team, what he wants to do. There's been rumors about him going to the Lakers and then taking over when LeBron leaves to go play with his son, wherever that is. So whatever happens, it's going to be super fun. There's going to be all kinds of Twitter drama. These players are going to be crazy because they have no filter at all, and it's going to be absolutely wild.
The NBA always surprises me because it's the one league with like the most drama, like where the players players, like you said, have no filter and they just say whatever they want.
I think that the thing I love about the NBA is that it doesn't only have value as a sports league, but it also has value as a soap opera because literally every week there's some new this absolutely bizarre story that no one believes, but then it's like, well, I mean, it can't get much weirder than this. Then the next week it does. So I love the NBA mostly because of that, because there's just all kinds of just ridiculous stuff going on every week, and on the top of the fact, basketball is the best sport in the world. I'll just throw that in there.
So what do you think? KD and Kawhi Leonard both go to the Lakers with LeBron?
They need to do some finagling, I think, salary wise. I would think right now, if I was the Lakers, I think you take KD. Even though Kawhi is great, I think KD is a lot more of a sure thing to come to the Lakers if you do really put the full court press on him. Basketball metaphor, haha. I would think for Kawhi, I mean, I don't know why, but I'm getting a feeling he's going to stay in Toronto. I was absolutely on the Kawhi's gone. But there's something about the way that team plays, and there's something about the way that team's kind of handled the situation that really makes me think like, they might be able to pull Paul George here. They might be able to convince him to stay because as far as I can tell right now, they're probably going to win the East if they keep going the way they're going. And they could give whoever's in the finals a run for their money. And if Kawhi is truly happy there, I mean, if his uncle is able to shut up for 5 minutes, then maybe we could see Kawhi in Toronto next year. I think that would be good for, number one, the league in general, keeping kind of the balance of power not completely
parity
in the West. But and as well as it might be good for Kawhi. I mean, having a city a team to his own,
country to himself.
Yeah,
pretty much.
He did have that a little bit in San Antonio, but I think one of the things that really kind of turned him off was how it was more about the system than about him. I think if he stays in Toronto, it's going to be all about him no matter what, which he wouldn't get that in LA. So I don't know. I think Kawhi could stay. I think Durant's leaving for sure. I'd love to see Durant go to the Lakers or the Knicks. If I'm Kawhi, if I am going to leave, I'm going to the Lakers. Or the Knicks, depending on who really wants me. But yeah, that's how it goes. It's going to be fun.
All right, NBA insider Brian Binns.
Yeah.
But all right, I think that's a good little tangent to end it on. This has been Illini Drive. We will be back next year in 2019. I'll be back on my just normal 2-day-a-week schedule. I will not be here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But for myself, for Brian, for Tati, you've been listening to Illini Drive. We'll be back next year. Tati, hit the music.